Welcome to the Rock Solid Family Podcast. This is Merle Hutchinson alongside of my wonderful wife, Linda. Hello, Linda. How are you this evening? We're recording in the evening, so I'm just going to call it out.
There you go.
We usually do midday or morning, don't we?
Well, yeah, but we've kind of been...
getting it done when we can.
Well, you know, we did some camping and stuff, so we've been busy. But yeah, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm pretty good. Wrecking mountain bikes and having fun like that.
Yeah, how's your shoulder?
I think I'm going to be able to ride again next week.
Oh my gosh! You know, we can't have an. We can't have an.
Hang on.
Oh no, we can't have a just a boring weekend.
You want me
adventure.
to golf, don't you? You want me to golf?
You know, if you're not spending the day in the ER, then you know.
I was a mile away from the parking lot. A mile away. Got out in front of myself. Thought I was better than I was.
Does that kind of have to do with our topic today?
Yeah, where did
Where are all the good men?
Where have all the good men gone? Yeah. Hey, wait a minute.
What?
Oh, all right. So you're teasing me there, but
Yeah.
I can take that. We do have a good show tonight.
Yeah. It's actually on the cusp of the last 2 weeks' show. So if you've not watched the last two podcasts or listened to the last two podcasts, please go back and listen because I feel like I've already signed it for homework.
Yeah.
So,
well, they were the shows on love and respect, part 1 and part 2. And part 1 was all about learning to hear from the man's ears, and part 2 was how to hear from the woman's ears. But actually, hon, this topic today that we're talking about is one that I just feel like it's an erosion that's happening within our culture. I see it in my work on a regular basis, and I think this is at the risk of stepping on toes because you could be offended by this.
Yeah.
But we're asking the question, you know, where are all the good men? And I don't ask that just for the sake of the men. We are getting that question out of the women.
yeah.
Out of the women. And so you deal with so many of the women and the young women. And I'll just say, you know, the 20 to 40-year-old women.
Yeah.
And, hun, like, the number of ladies that you deal with, what kind of man are they looking for?
Yeah.
We'll get into our sponsors in a second, but what kind of man are they looking for?
Actually, they're not really looking for the money or the job. They're looking for someone who can emotionally be present in the relationship.
Yeah.
You know, and honestly, I think it has a lot to do with how we're raising our boys.
Yeah.
And, you know, do they have an EQ? Which I didn't even know what EQ was until I went to counseling and worked on my master's. I really didn't even understand that emotional quotient. Like, you know, we talk about IQ, your intellectual quotient, but like emotionally, how intelligent are we raising our young men to be? And so the women are feeling like they're dying on the vine. Like, you're not willing to sit down and have a conversation with me. You can't even ask me how I'm doing and care about how I'm doing. And so emotionally present, connecting, we're going to talk about that more in a second.
Yeah. So, anyway, when we tackle it, guys, we're going to hit it from a couple of different approaches. We're going to talk about it from, you know, where have the men gone, but also what are the ladies looking for? But then what can the men do, right? Because we always want to be into the problem-solving part of things versus just complaining, all right? So before we go any farther, let's thank our sponsors. We want to thank Maxwell Construction, Casey's Outdoor Solutions, and the Hoosier Ice House for sponsoring the Rock Solid Family Podcast. So if you're doing any business with them, just mention that you hear their name on our show and thank them for being sponsors of what we talk about. Also, we just want to thank all of the folks out there that listen and share our shows. Please give us a 5-star rating, share the shows, but also, you know, you got to give us those ratings. I know it's a search engine thing.
I hate
to
that.
ask for anything, but do it, okay? Just do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you like this messaging and you want this to bump up on the platform over a lot of the junk that's out there, then you've got to rate it. You've got to share it. You've got to like it and follow us. And that's what drives those search engines up.
Yeah.
And also, we only have 2 classes left in 2024 for our Families Rock program, which is a parenting class we do monthly. We're skipping December, so October 26th and November 23rd. 3rd, we will be at the Lawrenceburg Firehouse on Saturday mornings from 8:30 to noon. And it's a class that you can take on your own if you're working in a divorce situation, or maybe a blended family, or maybe you and your spouse or you and your ex, to come and really learn how to parent in a way that we can raise emotionally healthy,
Right.
Men. So yeah, we would love for you to join us. If you want more information, you can go on our website, rocksolidfamilies.org, and search Families Rock.
There you go. Okay, so let's jump in.
Okay.
All right. So you mentioned something about the EQ, and I do kind of have to laugh. I didn't know what EQ was. So
Yeah.
you say, well, these men don't have an EQ. I was like, what's an EQ? I didn't know. And so, it's just another term, but I think something that is different. I wasn't raised with the idea of my parents talking about an EQ, but we were raised with respecting women. We were raised with hard work. We were raised with, a moral compass. We were raised with, work and provide. And so those are things too that go into making this man more likely to find a woman, or a woman likely and be interested in them.
But your mom was a stay-at-home mom for
Right.
a lot of your childhood. And so I think that allowed the woman to be more present and able to sit down and connect with her husband. Now we've got 2 working parents,
Yep.
and they're literally passing through the night. And so they're not having that chance to emotionally connect at the dinner table and bedtime, and have those shared values and goals and open and honest communication. It's just it's not going to happen by chance. We have to
Right.
be intentional, and men and women both have to seek that.
Yeah. So great points. And so let's go through. There's some of the stuff that we see that women desire. And I think this is a little bit in conflict with what the feminist movement might say.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we don't need men, period.
We don't need men,
right?
yeah.
And we actually find contrary to that, these ladies that come in, even if they're going through divorce and they've had a rough situation, they're still craving that idea of a man. And I do think the roles changed a bit. If we went back 50 years, we might have seen that the role for the man might be more in the providing financially and the security and all of these kinds of things. But now we have both parents working, and oftentimes the lady might even be the primary breadwinner.
Yeah.
So some of that has changed. Like, well, I really don't need you to be the provider in terms of finances, but there are plenty of things still that need to be provided for.
Right.
And so, some of the things that the research actually talks about and we see is the idea of having shared responsibilities in raising the kids. Right? Like, this is not just your job
Right.
or my job, that the two come together. We see a lot of that because quickly what you have is, now that we have moms working, if they're working and taking care of the house and raising the kids, they're saturated to the point
They're
of
exhausted.
overflow.
Yeah. And if you're sitting there watching the Bengal game and you're not even willing to get up and help me unpack the groceries.
Maybe
or,
last night, but not typically.
So there's mutual respect, there's shared responsibilities, equality in decision making. It's not my kids or your job. It's our family. We're a team. And so we want there to be that equality. But honestly, there's a lot of women out there, including myself, who wants a man to lead, who wants that leadership in the home. And so, that is so hard and important. How do we juggle that with what our culture is saying today?
Yeah, the equality in the decision making, I think, is an interesting thing, because if you are a lady who has realized you have to take control and care of everything, and the husband is not consistent in weighing in, you start shutting down the husband. Like, well, I've already got it taken care of. I got it taken care of, and I do it. And so equality in decision making is both sides need this. The man has to feel like he's valued and heard, and the lady has to feel that way. And so, this is something where this is what gives people that sense of value. Like, hey, my opinion mattered. It means something.
Yeah. Women are also looking for that personal growth. Like, you want to see me succeed. You want to see me grow. Now, I will say they get very jealous if it's at the expense of their marriage or their family. And so you can't put that above your spouse, but that you would want to see her grow and learn new things and maybe share hobbies or interests. Like, we want to be connected that way, and that's a lot of times what women are missing.
Yeah, we hear a lot of times there's that thing of communication, like he just doesn't talk, but also like doesn't have stimulating conversation.
Yeah.
Like brainstorming and dreaming and
Right.
those kinds of things don't happen. And so, yeah, we need communication just in terms of how to run the family and all of that. But just the idea that you would sit and kind of dream about like, well, what do you think about this? Yeah. And the two of you would go down this rabbit trail together and solve things like that.
Right. One of the other things that women are definitely needing and wanting is that trustworthiness. Trust is the lifeblood of a relationship. And so when a woman cannot trust her spouse, when she doesn't feel like he's committed, whether he's not stable for the home and the family, whether it be financially or emotionally or physically, it just makes that woman feel like they can't trust.
Right.
And so there's this shutdown between whether you're dating or married, that reliability, that dependability, that trustworthiness.
Which kind of goes to the idea of even though we think we live in this modern sort of way, ladies still want solid values where the man comes in and he shows he values the family and he values faith. And so solid values, the direction of which way is our family going to go. And I think it's very important that a man comes in and instead of, we've joked before, but the old phrase that us men use is whatever. And so that's that drifting sort of lack of vision. Yeah, that indifference. And so actually we find the ladies are like, no, like, I do want you to help lead. I want you to have a vision for our family, not just a vision for your hobbies or your interests, but a vision for our family.
So some of the reasons the women are feeling like there's no good men, is really this lack of maturity. Like they're still acting like they're 17-year-old kids, and they're still they lack motivation. They're literally just sitting in the basement playing video games, or they're still having their mom and dad pay their car payment. So this lacking of maturity and motivation is two huge things I see. A woman doesn't want a boy. They want a man.
Yeah. And I will attribute those reasons in large part can be attributed back to the number of these boys that are lacking fathers.
Yeah.
And because it's the father that often said, son, get off the couch. Son, go get a job. Son,
don't treat her like that.
Yes. And so that masculine strength is missing. And so these boys are just drifting away, pursuing their fleshly desire, and now they're 25 years old and they're in the basement playing video games and eating Cheetos, and they're wondering why they can't get a girlfriend.
And part of that comes from really a lack of identity and purpose, like knowing why they're here and what their role is. And sometimes it's because they have no moral compass. They have no faith foundation to know you are a child of God and you're here to glorify God. And so how are you doing that? And so we lose our worth and our value. And so it really does. It kind of perpetuates this lack of motivation and this lack of maturity. And it's a vicious cycle. So whether you have an earthly father or not, men, guys, you have a heavenly father who has a plan for your life. It's good plans. And he wants you to glorify him in all you say and do.
Now, this is a problem because our ladies are seeing it and they're coming to us in broken relationships or not even being able to find a man. But let me share with you, too, the other side of that, because I actually get to deal with the men. And I'm dealing with these men who are in these middle-aged 20s and up to 30s, mid-30s. And when they live this lifestyle without direction, we see significant depression. We see a significant anxiety. Lack of consistency in holding down career type jobs, not this step up job, but a career type job. And so we're not just saying this because men are not performing. We're saying it's the performance and lack of achieving is actually hurting them, and they start to feel, it's okay when you're young and you're playing those video games, but all of a sudden you look in the mirror and you're in your late 20s and you something in you recognizes this isn't right.
So ladies, here's my advice to you, lady to lady, woman to woman, okay? Please, and I tell this to my clients all the time, please don't settle. Please don't settle. You will only have regrets and find yourself with more problems. If you know that there's a lot of junk in their trunk and they're dragging it into this relationship, I don't want you to just turn a blind eye and pretend like, oh, I don't see that they drink a lot. I don't see that they have other women on the side. I don't see that they haven't had a job in 6 months. Don't settle for that, okay? Set your values in what you want in a man. Okay. And then, let's make sure that we're hanging around the places that you're going to find those kind of men.
Yeah.
Right?
You set the values and you want this guy that sounds like a church guy, but you're hanging out in the bar.
Yeah.
And
he's cheating on his wife to be with you. Like, come on, don't settle for his aftermarket stuff. Like you want to be a priority, right? But you want a guy, and this is a quote by Andy Stanley. He did a whole series called Love, Dates, and Heartbreaks. You can actually go Google that, I think, on YouTube and watch it. But he did this series on dating, and he says, you want a guy that's going to go through God to get to you. Mm-hmm. And that, you want to be the person you're looking for is looking for. So if you want that person of maturity, right, and motivation, then you be that person of high moral values and integrity, if that's the kind of person you want to attract.
Hon, I got to bring up one point that is just, this is one of the elephants in the room.
Yeah.
And, this will come off old-fashioned. Mm-hmm. But you've got to not settle, but you've got to save yourself. And I am referring to sexually.
Yeah.
Once you give yourself up sexually, it changes the game completely.
Yeah.
And what happens is you've kind of mentally said, well, I've given everything I can, and so I'm kind of committed to this guy, and he no longer has to be in pursuit.
Yeah.
Right? And so his fire to go after you and pursue you and to do those things to earn you, right? They dwindle. And so what happens, we see this all the time, 8 months, a year and a half down the road, they wonder why there's just not a lot of good respect in there.
Right.
But they're so far in that they can't get out easily. They've committed to themselves in a very superficial way. And so I'm just telling you, it sounds like, oh, well, that's a church thing. Don't have sex before marriage.
I love him. And he's told us it's forever.
Yeah, but we just see that you give yourself away and you just watch what happens.
Yeah.
There are exceptions to every rule, right? So somebody's out there going, well, we did. But I'm just telling you that it's a good way to get yourself in trouble later.
There's a phrase out there, and it's kind of a crude one, but it definitely kind of sums it up. Why buy the cow if you get the milk for free?
Right.
And so, what we're saying is, come on, ladies, if you want a man who's going to be faithful to you and is going to pursue you emotionally, spiritually, physically, okay, then save yourself. Don't give in to that pressure. I know you love him and you want to give yourself to him, but this is a man, you want a good man. You want a man who can trust and wait for you, not has to have his desires met before he'll commit himself to you. That's not a good man.
You might be shocked, but you might be hurt as well. If you made the decision to say, you know what, I'm not going to do that, and you tried to actually I wouldn't just out of nowhere surprise them, but I would have that conversation to
early
say,
on.
I think we should stop this and we should do this right. And you will get a better idea of whether he's actually in it for all the right reasons. Because we've actually seen this happen where guys are like, this is ridiculous, this is stupid, and they leave the relationship. And you should know, wow, that's how thin that relationship was. And so, this is just another one of those ways to see how strong is the relationship. Take sex out of the mix and see if it can endure.
Yeah. So, and lastly, ladies, I would just pray. I would pray for God's provision. I would pray for God's person. There's this right person myth that there's only one right person out there. Okay. And again, it's being the right person. Okay, be the person you're looking for is looking for. Yeah. And so you want to start to reflect those values and those attributes that you're looking for in a good man.
Yeah. Let's talk to the men.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, guys, come on. Now more than ever, at least in the United States, you have some choice. Okay, there are lots of ladies out there looking for good men, and so because of that, good ladies looking for good men, and so there are some things that I just want to challenge you with, and that is the first one. Take a good, honest look in the mirror, and the emphasis is on the word honest. We just went through the list of things that ladies are looking for. And if you can look in the mirror and go, I actually am good at that and I do have these values, then great. But if you actually are this guy who, you're still in the basement, you're still doing your thing, you're still using women, it's time to look in the mirror because you're going to reap what you sow. Yeah. Okay. And so it's time to look in the mirror.
Yeah. I mean, think about this. There's ladies out there who are throwing themselves at men who are cheating on their husband and they found that person, that right person. But is that what you're going to do? Are you going to settle for someone who you're the aftermarket, you're the second best, but confident that there is somebody out there that's worth waiting for?
Yeah. Yeah. How about this? The second thing, guys, it's time to respect yourself. When you respect yourself, it means you respect the gift that you are, the gifts that you've been granted, and then you're going to use those well. And so the whole idea that you can't. One of our questions, hon, is on our intake is, how do you feel about yourself? And we use that sometimes for the bodily thing, like are you too fat or skinny or weak or whatever. But it's that, how do you actually feel? Do you respect yourself as a person? And that's really kind of hard when you're of a certain age and you can't really even provide for yourself, and you don't have the people in your life that you want, and these kinds of things. And you'll start to see guys are like, oh well, I'm just another guy. So they start to lose respect for themselves, and you can tell it because it's just like when you no longer respect your vehicle, you no longer wash it, you no longer take care of it. Trashed. It's just something you use, and so you use yourself when you don't respect yourself.
And you use women when you don't respect them.
Yeah.
So we want you to respect both. Also, that means kind of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and getting a job and taking care of yourself. If someone's taking care for you, if someone's doing for you what you could do for yourself, I don't care if you're 20 or 40, it's time to step up and to be that person that God is calling you to be.
Yeah, I can't emphasize that enough. That whole idea, you said the idea, it's time to do for yourself, do what you can do for yourself. Yes. So we are not talking about, somebody who has a handicap or there's a restriction of sort, but the idea that if you're capable if you have the health to go out and work, then go work. I've heard this before. I've been looking for jobs, but I haven't found the right one, so I'm not going to work until I get this. I'm not going to work until they pay me this amount of money. Right. I'm like, that is just the most ridiculous thing.
Waiting for the right one.
Yeah, go out and prove to yourself that you can do hard things, that you can stick with it, and not only will you prove that to yourself, the people around you, you will become much more attractive to them as well.
Yeah. And I would encourage this, and I encourage this to the ladies too. Find a strong mentor. Find somebody in your life that you want to be like, okay, that you want to emulate. Find that person where you want to go, and then start learning from them. Take them out to lunch. Try to message them and connect with them. Like, ask them questions like, how did you get where you are? What do I need to do? Give them permission to say hard things, right? How your first question you ask all of your clients is, how coachable are you?
How coachable are you?
Yep. And so find someone that's going to challenge you and call you out to become the man that you want to be.
Yeah. We were joking. You were joking or teasing me about my mountain bike wreck, right?
You're the one that brought it up. I was not going to even mention it. Well, you don't have your sling on.
I don't need a sling. Guys, here's something I want to challenge you with. And here's actually, I learned it through sport, but learning to do difficult things without quitting and without blaming others for the outcome. And I actually learned it through sport. And I'll give this credit back to swimming and my swim coach, because he used to throw out workouts at us. And I remember in the middle of those going, oh my gosh, like this is miserable. It hurts, all these things. But then you get to the other end and you're like the sense of accomplishment and that prideness and the
prideness,
pridefulness of
pride.
Pride of what you were able to push yourself through, all right? And that builds the integrity into you as a person. And so the idea, like even if you're no longer in sport, I still think sports, I challenge men all the time, start walking, go out, start running, sign up for a 5K, go do something that you haven't done. Go to the gym, start lifting weights, go do something you haven't done and something that's not necessarily fun, but something that you can see the accomplishment on. Because once you start to understand that you have to get through hard things to get to good things, you will start to recognize what you're capable of.
Oh, honey, I love that. And honestly, ladies, that's for us too. I feel like as parents, so many of parents have kind of saved their kids from having to do hard things, which is kind of taken the good men away.
Right,
the good men come from hard things, overcoming and perseverance, right, and resilience. And so I would say both to the men and the women, please don't be afraid of hard things, good things that are worth waiting for, worth fighting for, worth working toward. And so don't settle for yourself. Don't settle in relationships. Don't settle to your flesh. I just worked on this with a client. We read Galatians 5 where it talks about the sins of the flesh, like all of those things that our body says, I can't live without, or I need right now. And Bible says, no, but live by the fruit of the Spirit, right? Yep. The patience, the self-control, things that we don't like, but are hard and they're worth it in relationships. And that's what we really want for all of our listeners.
Yeah. So guys, we're going to wrap it up, but this is actually a serious problem in our culture.
Absolutely.
And it leaks out into so many things. It leaks out into the leadership, leadership in the corporate world, leadership in our military, leadership in our homes, in our country. And so this is not something like, well, they're just doing this silly show on it. We can actually see how this problem has permeated so many different parts, and none of us are better for it. So even if we say, this has allowed more women to get into leadership positions, that hasn't made us better as a country. I want the ladies to go to whatever leadership position they need to, but we also want the men to be there as well.
Strong men,
Yeah, and so part of our challenge this week is if you are a lady and you do not have that man, as Linda said, do not settle, all right? But be intentional about stating what it is that you're looking for, right? So that way you have a much better North Star that you're shooting for, okay? If you are a man or somehow this show gets to you, I challenge you to start pushing yourself to do hard things for the good of bettering yourself.
Yeah.
Like if you are a guy who's finding yourself stuck, look in the mirror and stop the blaming. Like, Jocko Willink says, it's time to own it. It's time to own it. And so you own what you have to do, and we will start to see good men rise.
And we haven't mentioned this yet, but this is always an assumption because we're rock solid families, and that is that Christ is our firm foundation. Christ is what we build these relationships off of, our life off of. And I think of my life verse from Ephesians 3:20 and 21, where it says, now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we could ever ask or imagine, because it's his power at work in us, and then to him be the glory. And so you want a relationship like you've never have had, then do things the way Christ has called us to do, and he will knock your socks off with blessings. I promise you that. That's his promises in his word. He has good plans for us, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper us, not to harm us, and for good relationships. So ladies, gentlemen, please do hard things, put him first, and see how he blesses.
Yeah. I want to put a plug in for a show. I don't usually do this. ESPN has a series called The Receivers. It was put out by Peyton Manning. And I watched it because we were watching our grandkids one night, and I was holding one of the kids, and they had no TV or whatever. So I'm like going through some YouTube stuff, and I'm like, oh, whatever, I'll try this. And I found myself falling into it. And here's what was kind of interesting, hon, because you said this whole idea. They chose I think it was top 5 receivers in the 2023 year or 2022 year, and they were then going to track them for 2023. And these guys are like studs, right? They are the best of the best. And when you first look at them, they're cocky, they're arrogant, they're incredibly gifted. But then they track those guys. And I even got you to watch a little bit of it. Every one of these guys came from a solid family. Every one of them were praying.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And they were giving the glory to God.
Yes, yeah.
Like, even though they were the guys catching the ball and all of this stuff, and they were a little cocky and all that, and had some of the dance stuff going on, and that was me. At first, I was thinking, oh no, that's not for me. But then I watched a little bit more and saw them giving the glory to God, praying in the locker room,
having
and recognizing
strong male figures. In
yeah,
their
like
life.
I only had this season of my life as a short one, so I've been very blessed with this talent, and so I thank you, God, and so I just have to say that, because even the guys who look like they've got it all together, if you go just one step deeper, they give that credit to the rock they stand on, and they don't take it for granted. And so that's just to that point that you've been given gifts. Develop them like crazy, and then give the glory to God.
Amen. Amen. So hopefully this is helpful to ladies and gentlemen. I'll probably have to assign this one for homework, because the ladies are out there and they're looking. But I will tell you, too many women have settled, and then they come in heartbroken and feeling discouraged and feeling like, what did I do wrong? And it's because we started with giving ourselves away and settling for less than God's best. And so ladies and gentlemen, do not settle for less than God's best for your life. Make sure that person is willing to go through the gate into your heart, into your life. And so if that is you, and you've already been hurt by someone who wasn't a good man or wasn't a good lady, reach out to us. We would love to walk alongside you and help you, equip you, so that you can kind of endure some hard things and be able to see some beauty and some glory on the other side of that.
There are ways to hit the reset button.
There is. And
we can help do that. And we develop plans to do that, and it's very possible, but you have to be intentional to do it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we hope that our show was helpful today. This is definitely a show to share. If you I'm sure you had names popping in your head as you were listening. Share this show out to them.
You know what? I would love it if you would share the show and tag a good man. If you would tag a good man and say, here they are. Just to kind of shout out to those people that you look up to, that you admire, that you're thankful for, whether it be your spouse, whether it be your dad, whether it be a brother, whether it be a friend. We can really start to encourage one another to be the person God has called us to be.
Yeah, thanking those good men that were in our life. And
not calling out the bad ones.
Yeah, I was going to be careful with that.
Good men, good men.
All right, we want to thank our sponsors again. We want to thank Maxwell Construction, Casey's Outdoor Solutions, and the Hoosier Ice House. So we want to thank those guys again. We want to thank all of you guys for continuing to hang around with Rock Solid Families. Hun, you got anything?
I just ask for prayer for Merle's shoulder.
It's going to be fine.
It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. But yes, thank you so much for listening to the Rock Solid Families podcast, building a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day.
Rock Solid Families wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast. Casey's has grown to be one of the largest and most unique garden centers and gift shops in the Cincinnati tri-state area. Whether you are looking to take on that next landscape project or simply add a little home decor to your house, Casey's has you covered. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Call them today at 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home. Rock Solid Families wants to thank Maxwell Construction for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast. For over 30 years, Maxwell Construction has been a leader in turning dreams into realities. building schools, banks, restaurants, and many other commercial and public facilities. Maxwell Construction has made it their priority to not just build buildings, but to build into their community. So if you have any construction needs, call them at 812-537-2200.
Rock Solid Families would like to thank Hoosier Ice House for being a proud sponsor of the Rock Solid Families podcast. In the heart of historic Lawrenceburg, Indiana, the Ice House is at the corner of Vine and High Streets. The historic building evokes a feeling of comfort with spacious indoor and outdoor dining, a large bar, and comfortable dining areas. Large enough to host parties, yet intimate enough to feel like your favorite neighborhood restaurant. So thank you again for the Hoosier Ice House for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast.